Major lessons from this one are to do with hooking. Because this is a situation where I go in and I attempt to get the girl's attention, attempt to get her qualifying, chasing me, attempt to do the buyer-seller frame thing right from the start, like you've seen me do in set after set after set. But in this case, the girl's resistant. In this case, instead of falling into my frame, she resists my frame and gives me shit tests and talks back and that kind of stuff. And so what's happening here is I'm essentially, I'm going through the Fred model as you'll see in the notes on the product. But basically I'm trying for focus, relevance, emotion. I'm trying to get her emotionally invested from the very beginning, and she's rejecting that frame. And I'm like, okay, well, at least let's do something like treat me as relevant, treat me as though I matter. And she's like, no, I'll just, we can talk, but it's not that important, etc. So she keeps like, again, resisting my frame and resisting my frame. Every time I try and make it more intimate, every time I try and escalate, every time I try and imply that she likes me, she's always like resisting and giving me shit tests. But what happens over time is the more I pass the shit test, the more she becomes attracted and the more the interaction's generally fun. And so I just gradually get a little bit further. I gradually wear away at it and get closer and closer to intimacy. So that's the first thing I want you to notice. The second thing I want you to notice is how I seed the venue change. And actually it's gonna be quite a long segment of me seeding the venue change, which is I'm gonna suggest plans and she's gonna kind of go along with it and resist it. And then we'll talk about some other topics that are completely unrelated to bring it back to plans. I'm just very persistent about it, but in a non-needy way and in a way that's like solving all her objections. So those are the two parts that I want to really highlight in this set. I'm sorry, you were just sitting in the cockiest manner that I've ever seen anyone sit in my entire life.
The cockiest? Why?
I don't know, it's almost hard to, you're like, just like, lean back, feet up, like wave some palm fronds on me and make my day. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger meets Mata Hari.
I'm just listening to music.
I still notice those responses. The cockiest, why? Challenging me back. Or then I start some other frame, you're this. She's like, I'm just listening to music, right? So it's not, she's not accepting my frame, right? And this will happen. A lot of times girls have strong frames. And a lot of girls, especially hot girls, are used to not qualifying themselves. They're used to men chasing, and they like that to a certain extent. There is, they like a man who doesn't have to chase and a man who will assert himself as a man, but they also like being in charge and having control. Also, they want to test the guy to see if he really is all that. So you'll get a lot of shit tests. And kind of a interesting, it's kind of trivia, but it's kind of important too. When do you get a shit test? It's when you threaten a girl's frame, okay? So in order to threaten a girl's frame, that means you have to be high value enough to be a threat, but sort of low value enough, or like the jury is still out enough that she hasn't decided on you. If she's already decided she likes you and wants to sleep with you, you won't get the shit test. At least not a value-based one. But if you're also like not in the realm of a possible sexual candidate, you won't get the shit test either. Like think about it like you wouldn't shit test a 5-year-old because just why? It's not relevant. What's the point, right? You're not gonna have sex with them and you know it, there's no point in even testing. But then at the same time, if it was the girl's like favorite celebrity that she has a crush on for years, and he was like, hey, come with me, I want you to come to my party, she wouldn't like shit test him. She'd be like, oh my God, please, yes, right? Because she already made that decision years ago when she put his poster on her wall. Does that make sense? So the reason you get the shit test is because you're in that intermediate, like in between, where you're a viable candidate. It's quite possible you could have sex with her, but the decision hasn't been made yet. Okay, so understand that it's a good thing. It means you're in the right category, but it means you still have work to do. Hi.
Hi.
Wow, very businesslike.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. Who are you? I'm Todd.
Who are you?
Just a boy. I think I'm special, but I leave that open to your judgment. I try not to sell myself. Huh? On the ways to pass shit tests, ignore and keep talking just over it, or keep talking on whatever you're doing. Misinterpret, treat it like it was a compliment, or agree and exaggerate. All right, so these are the ways that you'll see me pass these things. The first one, like, I'm just a boy, that's like, sort of like, it's like misinterpret and agree and exaggerate at the same time. Oh, so it's who are you, right? So it's prove yourself to me. So I say I'm just a boy. So it's me like overstating that I'm nobody, if that makes sense. It's agree and exaggerate to the idea of I'm not special. It's like, who are you as in you're not special? Oh, I'm just a boy. I agree, I'm not special, I'm just a boy. No big deal, so it's agree and exaggerate in that case. The biggest thing with any shit test, don't be emotionally reactive. As soon as you're emotionally reactive, you lose. As long as you're not emotionally reactive, you're fine. A good friend of mine lives in Los Angeles, has an amazing game, but anytime he has a shit test that's at all hard, I'll just be like, yeah, I have no response for that. Can we just go back to being normal now? Right? And he's just not emotionally reactive. He doesn't care. He technically failed the shit test. Technically just like, I don't know how to pass that shit test. But you know what? I don't even feel like passing it, so who cares? Right? Very effective because he's not emotionally reactive. I think I'm special, but I leave that open to your judgment. I try not to sell myself. Huh?
Are you here alone?
I am. I'm just walking through.
Okay. Just wondering if your friends told you to come over here or something.
No, I don't have any friends. I'm very shy.
I highly doubt that.
So that's another example of agree and exaggerate. Did your friends come over here and tell you to talk to me? As in, how lame are you? Like, I'm so lame I don't even have friends. Right? So I take that I'm lame for him even further. To the point that she knows I'm kidding. And that's actually a compliment. Right? I highly doubt that. So right there, I passed the shit test, and now all of a sudden she's opening up. She's actually giving me some positive feedback. Well, I'm not shy, but I don't have any friends. I'm just obnoxious, so I make them all go away. Don't worry, I seem charming at first, but it goes away quickly. It fades. So that's another assumption, right? I seem charming at first, but it goes away quickly. I'm assuming the frame is I'm a hot guy. She goes, wait, by telling me I'm cocky, that's charming. Again, fighting the frame, right? She doesn't want to give in. She doesn't want to fall into my frame. You what?
By telling me I'm cocky, that's charming.
Sure. Why not?
Interesting.
Are you charming?
I think that's subjective.
Yeah, for me as well. I mean, not everybody's into, intelligent, successful, charismatic, sexy boys.
Okay,
So if that's not your type, then I'm not charming.
I think I'm charming and I think you're cocky.
So right there, that's an interesting moment too, because up until now, she's refused to qualify herself to me. Like, who are you? The other challenging questions, she's refused to qualify. But here she's like, I think I'm charming and you're cocky. So now she is trying to qualify to me. She is trying to prove herself to me. So that's another key moment, right? Where she hasn't given in completely, but her frame is just getting a little bit softer, a little bit softer, a little bit closer to falling into my frame. Fair enough. Should we just go with that instead of doing names? Let's just be like charming and cocky. Let's not ruin this with like names and facts.
Do you do this a lot?
Do what?
Like go up and talk to random girls?
Told you I'm very shy.
You're a liar. You're a cocky liar.
Right, and so now something fundamental has changed too. She's still testing me, but now instead of testing for whether I'm high value enough, she's testing for whether I'm genuine. Right, so that's a fundamental shift. So now she's accepted that I'm high value. She just wants to know that I'm not full of shit now. Right, so that's now I'm winning her over. What should I do for a living as a cocky liar? I need to figure it out.
Be a lawyer.
A lawyer? Thought about that, but it's such a cliche.
What are you?
What am I?
Yeah. Or will you lie about it?
Wow, so much faith. So much faith. Scoot over. I'll talk to you for a minute. I have to go in a little bit, but you're not so bad. Why did I sit down at that point as opposed to earlier? Yeah, again, she asked a question. She's hooked. She's committed to the set. It means you don't drink.
No, that doesn't mean I don't drink. I don't get drunk. Well,
Me either.
Okay, I get tipsy. I don't get drunk. I've never even hungover.
So would you prefer to get a drink or a yogurt then? Or a coffee? I don't really do coffee, but I'll do hot chocolate. I will do hot chocolate though.
Well, if you're nomad, then you're going to be gone tomorrow, probably.
I'm here till Monday.
I don't need help on my, well, I might need help on my public speaking.
I live in New York. Okay, so the full story is this. Nomad homeless, yes. I work mostly on weekends. I usually work 2 days a week and then travel and explore and enjoy for 5 days a week. And so I go to different cities when I work. However, so here I've suggested plans, and she's objecting, but she's not objecting to the plans per se. She's objecting on logical levels. She's like, well, but you're leaving town soon. But you're only here for 2 days. Your story doesn't make sense. So it's not a question of not interested. It's a question of don't trust, and also doesn't want to get into anything like she's basically saying she's not looking for a one-night stand kind of thing, right? She's saying like she's looking for something long-term, some kind of dating thing. So she's screening me for comfort at this point, right? So on a certain level, I can just overtly pass the screens. Like when the facts are in my favor, I'm like, I actually do live in New York. Those kind of things, I can just tell her those kind of things. But other ones I'll have to, kind of waltz around a little bit because I don't want to be completely in the boyfriend frame as of yet. So I'll play a little bit hard to get. But I want to handle her objections because they are legitimate objections. Like there's no doubt this is Fast forward about 5 minutes from when I sat down. And so she likes me clearly. We're having a good conversation. The banter is decent. So that's not the factor. The factor is trust, right? So that's what I'm really working on here. New York is the city I come back to on weekdays between work, and it's also the city that I do more work in than any other.
Okay, that makes sense.
So thank you for thinking I'm full of shit. I appreciate that. Girl from allegedly who won't tell me her name. Thank you for thinking I'm full of shit.
You're welcome. Hey, I have no reason to believe anybody.
How recently did you start your internship?
2 weeks ago. And I had never been to New York before. I didn't know one person.
Where are you living? And then notice just get to know you conversation. Because I was already suggesting the idea of grabbing a drink, coffee, smoothie, whatever. And there was some resistance, so I answer some of it, and then we go back to normal conversation. I don't try again right away, right? I let it breathe a little bit, I let it take some time, and then, only then do I try again. Right there? Cool. Seriously, let's grab some sort of libation or sweet treat for a minute. I can't stay super long because I got to meet Christian a bit, but I would like to get to know you.
Like now?
Like now.
Oh, wow. I've never had that urgent of a request. Like where?
I'm pretty sure there are a couple places down that way.
Oh gosh, you know about walking with a stranger?
I can map it so you know exactly where we're going if you'd like.
I don't know. I don't trust you.
That's okay, you shouldn't. But New York's a pretty public place in general, so you're probably relatively safe.
I'm 20, so I don't really know if I can get a drink.
So we'll do coffee or frozen yogurt. We'll do that like pinkberry tart yogurty stuff with which I haven't had in a really long time.
Do you know where?
And here's a big thing, whenever you're selling a venue change, like a lot of times they'll just go. Like most of the time, why did she go with me? Because I asked. I've asked this girl a lot of times. Like I've asked and asked and asked. Why is she not going with me? Because she doesn't trust me, right? What that really means is she's afraid of bad consequences, right? So what you're gonna sell, you never sell that it's super amazing, because if you sell it's amazing, that's try hard, right? What you do instead is you sell that it's low risk. You sell that it's no big deal, right? It's she's like, I don't trust you. I'm like, yeah, you shouldn't probably, but New York's a pretty public place, so I think you're safe, right? Or when I eventually end up pulling her, I'm gonna say, you know what? If you feel uncomfortable halfway there, you can totally just turn around and walk back, right? It's that it's no big deal. There's no commitment. That's what you sell when you're selling a venue change or selling a pull. You don't sell that it's amazing. You sell that it's no big deal.
A place like that is?
I know of one sort of close, and I can Google another one. If I can find one within a few blocks, are you down?
Maybe.
That's a yes.
Does it bother you?
Why would that bother me? As long as, here, okay.
It should bother you.
As long as you're not like weirdly immature and stupid, then it would bother me. You know what I mean? If you're a mature person, what do I care what your age is? In fact, it's impressive. If you're mature by like 25, that's actually more impressive, right? Whereas actually, if I was like, you should be very unimpressed that I'm at 31 and I'm only as far in life as I am. You should be like, you are a failure at life. You're 31 and you're only...
If that's your logic, then I mean...
Yeah, it's pretty rough. You probably should just never talk to me. It's okay. I'll give you a minute. If you feel like leaving, you can just go. You love what?
You're like dancing off. She does not know what she's doing. It's so cute.
Just getting lost in the music, though. That's the most important part of dancing. So for any form of escalation, whether it be physical, logistical, whatever, it's always 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. There's a continual cycle. It's never just going to be linear. I mean, if it was linear, you just fuck the girl in like 3 minutes, which does happen occasionally, but it's very rare. But when you pull back, it's not forever that you're never going to try again. You just relax, chill out for a little bit, and then try again. Too bad I can't spell Washington, huh?
When are you meeting your friends?
I'm supposed to do 9:45. It's like an hour and 20 minutes. So it'll have to be a quick little rendezvous, but at least we'll get to know each other, and then if we never want to see me after that, then you're free to make that terrible decision.
You can't get offended.
Huh?
You can't get offended.
I can't, it's not in my nature. have a condition known as anorexia, which is characterized by freedom from worry of all kinds.
Wait, I'm sorry, did you say anorexia?
Anorexia.
Oh,
It's actually not true. It's a line from the movie. But anyway, it's from the movie Lucky Number 11.
never seen it.
It's a great movie. Apparently, it's a real thing, though.
Girl.
The black one or the white one?
The white one.
Is the black one actually part of the show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This white girl is just like.
That's what.
That's awesome. Oh, I like her. I want to be her friend.
Okay. We have a pink berry within like 2 blocks. And we have like a 16 handles within about 6 blocks. 2 blocks is 500. Unless you want to get up and join the show.
I'm wearing a skirt. Yeah.
Alright.
If I wasn't, I actually probably would.
Have you ever done any dancing?
I mean, I'll dance anywhere. I'm not like some professional dancer over here. But
Yeah.
this kind of stuff is fun. I wish I could dance.
I do too, actually. I played sports though, so I didn't have time.
Yeah, I mean, I play volleyball and stuff, but
Wait, you're not that tall though.
kind of tall.
Maybe like 5'7", 5'8", maybe. So yeah, just again, a lot of like little small talk, which boring as hell, actually. I'm like sitting there kind of bored by it as well. But at the same time, like, it's get to know you, it's important because it gives her that factual thing, especially because this girl needs comfort, right? She needs to feel like she knows me more. So what's the best solution for that? Just time and patience, right? If the girl's known you for 1 minute, of course she doesn't trust you. She's known you for 20 minutes, she trusts you a lot more, right? And you just have to ask yourself, like, is it worth 20 minutes to fuck this girl? The answer, in my mind, is yes. So I'm willing to put it in. And you try and like make the conversation interesting enough. Like as much as I say it's like boring, it's not as boring when you're in it and when you're making eye contact with the girl, when you're smiling and that kind of stuff. It's just boring to like watch from behind. You're not that tall though.
Kind of tall.
Maybe like 5'7", 5'8", maybe. And a half.
How tall are you?
I'm about the half inch, like 5'9".
So you're 5'8". Oh my gosh.
Very awesome. Super close. 6 short blocks. 0 long blocks, 6 short ones. Super close. Closer than the nearest
That
subway.
direction?
It is northwest.
Oh, I don't want to go on a subway.
We won't go on a subway. It's a walk. It's full walk. No. Closer than like a nearest subway. Like closer than a walk to a subway usually in the city.
I can't get on the subway with a stranger.
Don't get in the cab with a stranger. Subway's pretty safe, but don't get in the cab with a stranger.
Go anywhere with a stranger.
And this is key. You see, I just got up, right? As soon as there's kind of any buying or whatever, I just get up. Here's a word that you should all learn. It's SGO. S-G-O. Short for let's go. All right? And the idea behind that word is it's such a foregone conclusion, so obvious they're coming with you, it doesn't even merit 2 full words. It doesn't merit let's go, it's SGO. All right? So here, standing up is my version of SGO. I just stand up and start walking to where we're gonna go. Right? And most of the time the girl will come with me. In this case, she's actually gonna ask me to sit back down. She's like, sit back down for a minute, right? Which is fine, because she's not comfortable yet. But then eventually when I do, when things sort of turn around even better, I get up and stand up and walk again, and the second time she'll stand up and walk with me. Your call. It's literally right there. We're at A, we go to B. And we are at... that way.
Count for like 2 seconds.
Yes, mother. Anything else? All right.
Okay, so let's do this. I'm 20, you're 31. I'm leaving in a month. Kind of what you're kind of doing, and that's your every.
So here she's basically talking about how like a long-term relationship doesn't make sense for us. She's like, well, because you're, leaving town in a couple days and this and that, and I'm leaving New York in a month, and what's the point, and that kind of stuff. So she's like talking like marriage shit with me right now. Kind of, she's like, she wants to be like my long-term girlfriend if we do this. I'm like, well, it's like pretty extreme. banter, and that's all it has to be. Best case, maybe there's someone who I want to keep in touch with, and when I travel around, either you travel with me, hang out, or I'll pop by when I'm in your city. Who knows? Can always use good friends. Okay, so here's the thing. Stop. I watched that movie. But now she's talking about, I don't know if you can hear it, she's talking about the movie Taken. She's saying, this is like gonna be some like shit out of Taken, and I'm gonna like end up being sold into sex slavery or killed or something like that. You're not getting, I actually watched that on the plane on the way back from England like couple days ago.
I watched it like a week before I went to Paris.
Oh yeah? Does that like freak you out?
I mean, no.
No, you still, whatever.
It's whatever.
That's funny though, actually. The nice thing about New York is it's very bubble.
What's wrong with right here?
What's wrong with right here?
Yeah.
It's okay, it's just that I'm barely eaten today. And I like the idea of taking a cute girl on a date.
Oh. Well,
I'm a bit of a gentleman.
Kind of cute.
I'm a bit of a gentleman.
That's a little bit cute.
A little old-fashioned. You know, my generation and all that.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, what?
What direction is it?
There and there. It's uptown, north. Here's the deal. We'll do something lovely.
Pizza place.
Let's go to not a pizza place. A different restaurant, though. I don't eat pizza. So she goes, why don't we go to a pizza place? Because I think there's like one like really close by or whatever, like almost within sight. I'm like, well, let's not go to a pizza place because like basically I don't eat pizza. But as soon as she's agreed to something, what do? I stand up and start walking because I just want to get her feet moving. It turns out I don't even know where we're going either. This whole time she's like, where's it? I'm like, it's there and there, and I'm showing her on a map. I mean, that's true. It is like, I think it's like northwest or northeast or whatever. But I don't know. We're in the middle of a park, and I have no idea what any of the directions are. So northwest doesn't even mean anything to me at that point. But the whole thing, I just want to get her feet moving. And then as we leave the park, I'll figure out where we're actually going. So I walk out, and I'm like, wait, by the way, to some stranger, like, which way is uptown? And we're trying to go north, right? They go, it's that way, like pointing back the direction we just came from. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So we go this way and that way. Got it, perfect. And then just keep walking, right? Like it was completely planned. The whole thing is just get her moving. Okay. I have to watch my girlish figure.
I don't know.
What?
I'm probably gonna like walk halfway.
If you are totally hating life halfway, then you can totally turn around and leave.
It's just not me. I don't do that.
Here's the deal. I officially grant you freedom to leave at any moment you like.
Okay.
And I won't even consider it rude.
Okay, this isn't a date though.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's good. I actually don't like dating, so it's good. I prefer rendezvous with,
Rendezvous with random girls who are in Washington Square. The thing is, it's like the dark side. That's like the bright side. That's why I was wondering.
Sorry, we'll walk this way. I'm 100% which way is uptown? Hang on.
You're asking me?
I'm gonna ask these people. Excuse me, which way is uptown?
That way.
That way? Okay. So we're gonna go this way and that way. This and that. What?
It's weird.
You're all good. So you're interning in.
Yes. And right now, I don't find this very respectful. Like, okay.
So this is interesting just because now there's no more escalation. I just want her to talk. I just want meaningless small talk until we get to where we're going. I mentioned this in another video, but I'm in a winning situation now, right? We're going on an instant date. So what I don't want to do is anything stupid between now and when we get there. It'll be easier to escalate once we sit down. It'll be easier to escalate once it's more intimate, once we've agreed to be together and we're in like a formal date setting. So between now and then, I just want to like not creep her out. Now I don't want it to be like creepy silence because that's even worse. But what I don't want to do is like try and escalate or try and take big risks or do anything super offensive at this point because I'm already in a winning position. So I have faith in my future self that if I get this girl sitting down and she's committed to like a 20-minute, half-hour window with me, that I'll do well from there.
Well, I'm working on yada.
Okay.
But honestly, I'm sorry if you're like into fashion.
Oh, I still am.
I can tell. No, I mean, I like to dress like...
That's not even nice.
I mean, I said
not
that to
even
somebody
nice.
else. I wasn't trying to be mean. But, like, I mean, I'm not super... I don't care about that stuff. It's like, okay, if Marc Jacobson's on my bag, cool. If he's not, I'm not going to spend $1,000 to do it.
That's your stop? Okay.
So,
You may go. Will they let me use the restroom in your like bottom floor? And so here I'm just giving a premise. I say, is there a restroom I can use on your bottom floor? Because I happen to know that like the bathrooms are up behind like the security desk gate. So it just gives her a reasonable reason to sign me in. Because I just don't want to like have that weird explanation. So that's what I'm doing here is I'm giving her a premise.
I don't think we have one.
Sure?
No, I'm not sure, but I don't know.
Okay. So I would like to before I walk. If I have to, I'll go find like a public place.
Okay,
But
well, I mean,
come on for a second.
I'll ask.
Yeah. And so in we go. So again, that's a pretty good result, and that's obviously several hours later. We did a long time in like the yogurt place, and then it was actually like a long walk back to where she was as well. By the time we got, because the yogurt place ended up being a longer walk than I thought. So it was a longish walk there, longish walk back, etc. But again, that's how really good day game should look. It should not look like getting a phone number. It should look like instant date, maybe second instant date, maybe sometimes, maybe not, pull, right? If there's no reason to go through the process of a phone number and a lot of texting and that to get them on a date when you have them on a date right then and there. Why not just take advantage of that? Okay, any quick questions on that before we go to the last that we're going to do?
You closed that door?
Huh?
You closed that door?
I didn't actually. That one, we went up to her room and she actually had her roommate home by surprise. She didn't know her roommate was there. And so I ended up talking with them both and getting to know them, and I ended up leaving town for a few weeks, which kind of sucked. But did get up to the room, did give myself the best possible opportunity I could have. Had I known the roommate was there, because she told me like that it was like whatever, right? Had I known the roommate was there, I probably would have tried to spend more time out first and then invite her back to my place. She wasn't comfortable enough to come to my place yet, so that was the issue there. But yeah, and then I got kind of like bad information, which always sucks when you screen and get bad information. But again, like still like pretty good set, pretty good scenario. It's what you want to have happen for the most part. So.
Okay, anyhow, how you dealt with after the bathroom to the room?
You just basically say, actually, oh, you know what, that thing we were talking about before, let me show you that or this, that, or the other. Yeah, whatever, because throughout the date, you should be seeding different reasons. Like different videos, different things you'll show her, different things you'll discuss, whatever, that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Yeah.
You responded to, you said the worst case, best case.
Mm-hmm.
What if you said on the worst case?
I said worst case, we have really good banter and we both enjoy it, but it doesn't go anywhere. And best case, we end up really liking each other, which is totally not the worst case, but whatever. The worst case is like it's awful and terrible and awkward for her, but whatever. But yeah, that's the worst case I gave her was, good banter. But well, the reason that actually made sense though, that's not the real worst case, but the worst case, because her objection was that she wanted something real to come out of it. Right? She's like, what's the point of us even hanging out? I'm leaving town soon. It's not going to go anywhere. Because she's like 20, right? So she's probably, any guy she's hooked up with has probably been like her serious boyfriend in the past and stuff like that. So that's what she's like looking for. That's her paradigm. So she's like, what's the point of hooking up with some random guy? That's just how she's thinking. So when I said worst case, it'll be good banter, because the fact that she liked me was already baked in. We'd already kind of agreed we liked each other. It was just like, what's the point? Where's this going? So for that objection, it makes sense. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Once the roommate is there, cannot you like fuck her anyways? Like maybe you pull her to her room like into like some reason or something.
It's pretty tough. I mean, it can be pretty. It depends on it depends on the logistics and how it all works out and stuff. And also you have to be careful about her roommate's perception of her, because it depends how she views that too. Because maybe she'd be down, but she like doesn't want to do it in front of the roommate, 'cause she doesn't want to be perceived as a slut by, there's all kinds of stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, on all these that you're kind of like visiting another city, will you, like, say if you revisit, will you try to reopen with these girls or?
Yeah. I used to be really good about that. Like I used to be super good about that. Like I'd have numbers cataloged in my phone. I'd catalog them by city, and then when I go to the city, I'd have like like if it was NYC, I'd just like do a search for NYC, and I'd mass text all the NYC girls and see who came through. I'm not as good about that now, because I just frankly don't care enough to be. And also as I've gotten better at game and specifically better at pulling one night stands, I care less about following up with numbers, especially numbers that didn't go all the way the first time. So now I'll follow up with a few that either I did hook up with and like I'm just going back to see them again in the city, that for sure. But also if the girl really stood out, like if she was truly hot or truly amazing, yes. but it's not quite at that same level of like just really pounding the numbers that I used to. However, for all of you, I recommend pounding the numbers.
Do you think there's a time gap that's like too weird to re-text?
If you haven't texted at all between the two, yes. I mean, not necessarily too weird, but it's definitely weird. But what you should be doing is texting periodically throughout that time, but not with the intention of making plans. So what I actually do, and that's a good question, it actually reflects on text game, which is I'll make a list of all the girls that are kind of like cold. And then if something interesting happens, like I come up with an interesting picture on my phone or an interesting little message that I sent, I'll send it to a few of the girls that I'm like less invested in. And if they respond well to it, I'll send it to the whole list. And it's just like a little value offering blast. It's like basically these like long distance girls, it's almost like they subscribe to my like Twitter feed via phone, my phone Twitter, if that makes sense. And I just send them the occasional Twitter update, right? Or like, I guess like Instagram too, because it's pictures, right? But that's the general idea is you just keep them warm by periodically sending that stuff. And then what'll happen is they'll occasionally pop and really talk to you. And if you really like a girl, or if you're gonna go back to that city you know for sure, then what you can do is you do the texting back and forth, and then occasionally maybe you just pick up the phone and talk to her. If you can get the girl talking to you on the phone a couple times over a period of a couple months, and then you go back to her city, it's like done deal, right? And the nice thing is, in some ways it's easier to get the girl on the phone when you're not in her city, because she knows you don't want anything from her right then, right? Because sometimes if you call a girl and you're in town and she knows it, she's like, oh, he's calling me for sex, or he's calling me to meet up. But when she knows you're halfway across the country, it just feels friendly, feels low obligation. And so sometimes it can actually kind of help you in a way. I mean, it doesn't really, it kind of still sucks because you miss your window and whatnot, but there is a positive aspect to it. Yeah, so.
So by default, I'm always trying to pull to my place, but I may be losing a lot of those interactions because the comfort level with the women is much more
Right.
when you can go with them.
Right, you're better off playing to your place, almost always. The problem with playing to their place is you don't have control of the door.
I'm sorry?
You don't have control of the front door at their place, so it's kind of a pain in the ass. Also, you don't know what you're going to walk into, right? If it was my place, I would know there's no roommate there, right? Or I would have texted my roommate ahead of time, be like, hey, be scarce, right? But you go back there, you just don't know. Because, yeah.
That explains it. Keep doing what I'm doing.
Keep doing what you're doing. If you can't pull to your place, pulling to her place is a good backup, right? It's a good, it's better than nothing for sure. But your place is almost always better. Yeah, for sure.